Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to News Talk today with yours truly, Chris Adu, coming to you as usual from the great state of Texas, Houston, Texas, to be precise. Thank you for tuning in. I'd like to welcome all of you tuning in from Europe, tuning in from Asia, from Africa, from the continent USA. It's a privilege all the time to have you on board. Please, if you are joining by way of the social media, talking about Facebook, YouTube, please do me the favor. Go ahead and hit that share button on Facebook. And for you on the YouTube, please do me the favor, hit the subscribe button so that you are one of the first persons to receive notifications each time that we are live here on ABS. And once more, thank you for tuning in. I am quite excited with what I bring to you today. I bring you information or informative. I bring you also educative information, inspiring information that can help you in some decision making as far as politics, both local and international, is concerned. We'll be talking about what Tchiroma is up to. What Tchiroma is up to today. I will also be talking about a statement coming from Ambazonia, from the Ambazonia Restoration Fighters Command on Ground Zero, who have issued a statement distancing themselves from the killings in Guidado last week. Going to be talking about that and bringing you information about that statement. I will also be bringing you much more information tidbits from my new book, The Hypocrisy of the West. The Hypocrisy of the West. And I will bring you my panel to weigh in on these issues. Please, again, hit your share button if you haven't done so yet. And do not forget, if you are on YouTube, to hit the subscribe and the like button, ladies and gentlemen. I will be right back in less than 1 minute. In less than 1 minute, I will be back. Stay tuned.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level.
All right, thank you once more for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I bring you updates on what is happening with the Tchiroma campaign towards recovering what he believes was a victory given him by Cameroonians on October 12th. He had a meeting at the weekend where he spoke lengthily on his situation and what lies ahead. That will be the subject of my monologue for tonight. But before I get there, I will talk about what is going on ground zero, the state of the Ambazonian struggle, the state of Ambazonia's struggle for self-determination. Also talking about updates coming from Gidado. The restoration fighters in Ambazonia have issued a statement distancing themselves from the killings that took place in that community about a week ago. Again, we'll weigh in on more tidbits on my new book, The Hypocrisy of the West. I am quite excited with the reviews that are coming in place. We are doing this so that we're exposing this so that you can figure out exactly what this book is about. And again, at the end of the day, my panel will be weighing in on these issues, and we will open the phone lines for you to call in and make your contributions as usual. Now, let me take you to ground zero, ladies and gentlemen, precisely going back to Ndu Gidado, where a week ago, elements which are not yet determined went out and massacred 14 people, including children, women, and pregnant women, as we learn. Immediately that happened, the social media, and most unfortunately, people who called themselves journalists went out to attack Ambazonia or to attribute the attacks to Ambazonia restoration forces. I was actually speaking to somebody very, very much high up there in Yaoundé this morning, and he said to me, listen, do not be surprised. Do not be surprised to hear that those attacks were carried out by government forces in order to set confusion, knock the heads of people within that Hindu community, setting heads against each other. That is what somebody in Yaoundé at a very, very high up there in the Prime Minister office made mention to me today. And so, a few days ago, the Ambazonia restoration fighters issued out a statement condemning those attacks. And let me read that report as we frame it here to your understanding so that you have an idea what Ambazonia restoration forces have come out to say. And the report goes, the Ambazonia restoration fighters, what they call the Ground Zero Command, has issued a forceful statement condemning in the strongest terms the recent Gidado massacre, describing it as an act of barbarism that cannot and should not be justified under any circumstances. In the statement, it denounces the killing of civilians in Gidado, a locality in Indu local government area in Ambazonia, where reports indicate a deadly assault that left numerous residents dead and others wounded. Though details of the attacks perpetrators remain contested in local narratives, the APLC's communique made one position unequivocally clear. Ambazonia forces were not behind any conflict with Fulani communities in the area, the statement says. The Ground Zero Command of the Ambazonia People's Liberation Council, it says, it reads, condemns in the strongest terms such barbarism. The statement stated, adding that the APLC rejects any assertion that Ambazonian fighters were involved in clashes against Fulani or Mbororo communities. The release also emphasized that rumors suggesting internal conflict between Ambazonian separatists or fighters, forces, and pastoralists, Fulani groups are false and do not reflect reality. According to the statement, the fighters further pledge accountability, stating that anyone found guilty of betraying the Ambazonian cause or committing atrocities against civilians will be held to account under the law, regardless of race, ethnicity, language, or color. The statement comes amid a swirl of conflicting reports about the incident or the killings in Gidado. Local social media sources quickly attributed the massacre to Ambazonia fighters attacking Mborolo Fulani locals. But these accounts have been challenged by community leaders and activists who question the sources of such claims. The APLC's response appears aimed, in part, at countering narratives that fuel intercommunal tensions and deflect from the underlying political dynamics of the long-standing Ambazonian conflict. The Ambazonian conflict, now in its 9th year, has seen various armed groups fighting for independence from the Cameroonian state, with civilians caught in a crossfire. Multiple human rights reports document abuses committed by government forces and armed groups alike in the past. Ethnic tensions have periodically flared, especially involving Mbororo Fulani pastoralists and local communities. Previous incidents, including the Ngarabu massacre in 2020, where dozens of civilians were killed in an attack involving Cameroonian soldiers and Fulani militia, underscore the delicate dynamics of violence in the area and the risk of misattribution of responsibility. In its statement, the APLC reiterated that Ambazonian forces are united in purpose and that acts of violence against civilians are contrary to the movement's stated objective. The statement rejects any attempt to paint independence fighters as instigators of ethnic violence with Fulani communities, a claim that has periodically surfaced in social media and local political discourse. The APLC's statement is likely aimed at calming fears among communities worried that armed conflict could give way to ethnic bloodletting, a development that would further complicate an already protracted conflict. As investigations into the Gidado massacre proceed and more information emerges, Stakeholders inside and outside of Ambazonia will be watching closely to see whether accusations are substantiated or debunked, and what measures the fighters and other actors will take to uphold civilian protection and accountability. And that is that report, ladies and gentlemen, again coming from Ground Zero, where the Ambazonia restoration fighters have issued a statement distancing themselves from the killings that took place in Gidado in Indu local government area of Ambazonia about a week ago. And they are not only distancing themselves, they are calling upon accountability and stating that any fighter, any independence fighter who attacks civilians will be brought to justice according to the law. And there is that statement coming from them. I am being joined, ladies and gentlemen, by one person that you may know very well, our comrade on Ground Zero, who has critical information about what is happening on the ground, not just in Gidado, but in Bui County as a whole and all of Ambazonia. He will bring us a little bit some inside information into the statement I am reading to you from the APLC. I'm talking about Shea himself joining me from Ground Zero. Shea, I don't know whether you are ready. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Comrade Chris. Can you also hear me? I have a very serious challenge.
I can hear you 5 on 5. If you can bend your camera slightly, please. Or lift your camera slightly, because it's cutting your face.
How does it look like?
Okay, we can manage that. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Comrade Chris.
All right. You listened to the report I just presented there, coming from the APLC Ambazonian Ground Zero Fighters Command, or Council Command, they call it, issuing a statement distancing themselves from the attack or the killings in Gidado. I know you've been talking to some of these fighters on the ground. Tell me the wisdom behind the statement they've put out and why it took them so long to put out this statement.
I think it didn't take just only them long. It took a lot of us and other Amazonian leaders to come out with this publication. Reason being that the circumstances that surrounded the attack were very controversial. And you know, in a situation like this, which is similar to that of Gidado, people were very quick at pointing fingers at different actors. But the APLC was working with a team, and they even had to send teams on the ground, because when it first of all happened, some fighters were contacted and called, but they heard the incident for the first time. And you know, when it's something like this, which is very grave and serious, it concerns lives, people are obliged to take time to do their findings. And that is exactly what the APLC did. I think I spoke with the Supreme Command of the APLC immediately the incident happened. And he told me that they were on top of it and that he was going to commission some people as well to investigate the fighters, because as you know, we have different kinds of people who have invaded the fighting spirit as well. We've been talking about the Atanga and the boys. We've been also talking about people who took arms probably because of revenge, retaliation. They saw their houses being razed down. We have people who got involved who took arms because they were armed robbers and they thought this was an opportunity for them to be involved in armed robbery while hiding under the canopy of the struggle. We have even people who are using it to to showcase their power, to chase women around. There are many reasons why some of the people have taken arms and have infiltrated our valiant soldiers. And sometimes it's very difficult to differentiate from the real fighters because all of them are holding guns, and you will hear people reporting about unknown gunmen. You hear people talking about Amber Boys, you hear warriors, you hear restoration forces, and so on. But I think a delicate issue like this one was important that the fighters themselves take their time. But before LPLC was coming out with communique, you know, other fighters in the area, they have also come out to debunk, especially those from Bui. You saw what my country people, Conda Titus, the outing that he made, where he was even attributing the situation, living where the incident happened, which was in Gidado, in New LGA, and was facing but the fighters in Bui. Even when I took some old videos that some of these careless fighters were making on TikTok and claiming a certain location, which I knew that the intentions were to invade that location and then kill innocent people in the name of retaliation or looking after the people.
Yeah, I think your camera is frozen, but I hear you. I hope you get reconnected soon. If you can hear me, if I may ask, I have also listened to some messages from the social media by elements claiming to be Amazonian forces threatening people within the Mbororo community in the Gidado. Have you seen those footages, and are you able to say those are by any means Amazonian fighters?
Serious challenges based on you know where I am. Yeah.
Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't hear the last question.
Yeah, I was saying I have seen some social media footages sent out by alleged Amazonian fighters from the Gidado community threatening the Fulani, the Mbororo community from attacking Amazonian fighters going forward. Have you by any means ascertained that those footages put out by alleged Amber Boys are actually Amber Boys?
Um, I think, first of all, if you had listened to other audios from the Amber Boys, as the term you're using, one thing you will realize that, first of all, the Amber Boys do not even have any incident with the Fulanis. And the Fulanis don't even have this. There is a community feud that is taking place in that area. And this did not start today. We've heard a lot of other Fulanis that were killed. And you know, it's in the making of every human being that people are very quick at threatening others, declaring certain things. How will Amber Boys be threatening Fulani when some of these Fulanis who are Amazonians are even fighting some of the forces in the Amber Boys? That will probably mean that we are dividing a country that we are fighting for among ourselves. So all these, like I said, are a set of
It appears that your connection is interrupted again, probably network issues. But I don't know if you can hear me by phone. Can you hear me by phone?
yeah,
If you can hear me by phone, we can do it. We can do the. Okay, seems you are trying to reconnect. All right.
yeah.
All right. So, restoration fighters debunk their involvement in the attacks. We have seen the colonial mayor of Ndu putting out a statement inviting their colonial stakeholders for a peace meeting this Saturday. And who amongst Amazonian stakeholders have they invited, if any?
They didn't invite Amazonian fighters directly. Even if they did, probably the fighters will not go there because anything talking about peace that is not inclusive and with the involvement of the regime and its agents, there is danger. It's very risky for them to go there. But what I think, I wrote in that communique, was that for me, if I see a good move, I appreciate it. And like I said, that there seems to be a community conflict there between both the Fulanis and the local communities because there have been conflict among them for a while, and this has gotten out of hand. And for the mayor to take such an initiative, which I had preferred a local person than a direct colonial agent.
Okay, we are having some. Okay, I think I can hear you now. Go on.
And for him to have taken such a measure, even also including religious leaders and traditional rulers, I think in a nutshell, it's almost represented. Almost all groups are represented either directly or indirectly, and I think that this is to show you very clearly that the conflict in that area is not about Amazonian fighters and the Fulanis. It's about the whole community, and there have been a lot of problems. Them with
Yeah, we are having a very bad connection there. All right, you stay put in there, comrade. You stay put in there. Let me go to the next story, and hoping that by the time I am back, you would have rectified your connection. Ladies and gentlemen, I will take a brief break out, and when I come back, I will bring you my main talking point of the day. And I'm hoping that Shay will be able to have a better connection by the time that I am done presenting my monologue. So please stay put as I come back with my monologue titled, What is Issa Tchiroma up to now? What is Issa Tchiroma up to now? All right, stay put, please.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricativ@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Again, at this moment, I take you to my main subject of the day, which is titled, What Now is Issa Tchiroma Up To? What now is Issa Tchiroma up to? Now, you will recall, for those of you who have learned of it, Issa Tchiroma spoke extensively over the weekend in the virtual meeting organized by Project C. They call it Project C or Project Cameroon, whatever that means. And he made a number of statements which are the subject of my monologue for today, and that is what I bring to you at this moment. Give us a second to get this ready, okay? Give us a second to get this ready. We'll take a brief break out again, and as I come back, please, I bring you that monologue. We're having some little technical issues here, getting some footages here.
On ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience.
All right. What now is Tchiroma up to? Again, is the subject of the talking points that I bring to you for the day, which is the main subject of this broadcast tonight. And that is emerging from a meeting held last weekend by Project C. There are moments in Cameroonian politics when silence speaks louder than proclamations. When grand speeches sound less like strategy and more like scripture, parables told to keep a restless audience attentive, hopeful, and waiting. The virtual Zoom meeting organized over the weekend by Project C was one such moment. It was billed as an update, a reassurance, perhaps even a mobilization. What it became instead was a mirror reflecting the deep uncertainty surrounding the political journey of Tchiroma Bakari and the unresolved question that now trails him wherever his name is mentioned. What exactly is he up to? Project C, it should be recalled, was part of the coalition that rallied behind Tchiroma during the last presidential election in October, an election Tchiroma maintains was stolen from him. That premise, the stolen mandate, remains the moral foundation of his current political narrative. Every speech, every statement, every warning to other opposition parties rests on this single claim. Without it, the entire edifice collapses. During the Zoom meeting of last weekend, Tchiroma recounted his arrival in Nigeria, a journey he described in dramatic but frustratingly vague terms. He spoke of an attempted abduction, of forces that nearly bundled him back to Cameroon in what he implied would have been a replay of the now infamous Naira 10 rendition saga. Yet, when pressed, directly or indirectly, Tchiroma declined to provide details. No names, no agencies, no timeline, just the suggestion of danger hovering ominously but never landing. This is where the first crack appears. In revolutionary politics, details matter. They authenticate risk. They transform claims into facts. Without them, stories of near abduction remain suspended in the realm of anecdote. Powerful, yes, but unverifiable. And unverifiable narratives, however emotionally potent, do not move revolutions forward. Tchiroma then turned to his current host country, the Gambia, praising its government, the Gambia government, for generosity and warmth, even suggesting he is being treated with the courtesy due a head of state. But in the same breath, Tchiroma admitted a crucial limitation. He cannot speak freely as a revolutionary leader while on the Gambian soil, he said. That admission, perhaps unintentionally, was one of the most honest moments of that meeting last weekend. Because revolutions do not thrive on hospitality alone. They thrive on clarity, mobility, and freedom of action. To be well treated yet politically constrained is to exist in a gilded cage, comfortable, secure, but ultimately powerless. The diaspora, ever faithful and ever hopeful, received its customary praise from Tchiroma. Tchiroma thanked them for standing firm, for funding, organizing, and amplifying his cause. He promised once again that when he assumes office, all Cameroonians in exile will return home. It was a promise greeted with applause, nods, and quiet longing. But it also sounded painfully familiar. Promises of return are easy. The hard part is answering the question no one wants to ask too loudly. By what mechanism? By what mechanism does Tchiroma get to the presidency? This is where this monologue turns from recounting to reckoning. Just days before this Zoom meeting of last weekend, Tchiroma had issued a vehement, unequivocal statement debunking allegations that he was in negotiations with the regime of Paul Biya. The rumors had been persistent and specific that Yaoundé had allegedly offered Tchiroma and members of his coalition 9 powerful ministerial portfolios in Biya's promised new cabinet. A cabinet that tellingly has still not been announced months after the October elections. Tchiroma did not merely deny these allegations. He went further. He warned opposition parties, particularly the MRC of Maurice Kamto, against participating in planned council and parliamentary elections. Tchiroma's logic is understandable. Once opposition parties re-enter the electoral process, they implicitly legitimize the very system that, he argues, robbed him of victory. Participation in this framing equals surrender. On paper, this position is ideologically sound. Historically, the Cameroon regime has used controlled elections to fracture opposition movements, distribute patronage, and project an illusion of pluralism. We have seen it from Frondi to Kamto. Refusing to play the game can, in theory, expose the game itself. But theory collapses without enforcement power. Tchiroma can warn, he can caution, he can moralize. What he cannot yet demonstrate is leverage, real material leverage, capable of compelling other opposition actors to follow his line. Kamto's MRC, for example, operates under its own calculations, its own survival instincts, and its own reading of political reality. Appeals to solidarity alone have really been enough to unify Cameroon's fragmented opposition. And here lies the central contradiction of Tchiroma's current posture. Tchiroma speaks as a president in waiting, yet operates as a politician in exile with no visible pathway to power. He demands discipline from others, yet cannot show how abstention from election translates into restoration of a stolen mandate. He debunks negotiations with beer, yet the regime's prolonged delay in announcing a cabinet quietly feeds the very rumors Tchiroma seeks to bury. Politics, after all, abhors coincidences. Why has a cabinet not been constituted 3 months after elections? Is it mere indecision, internal wrangling within the ruling CPDM, or is the regime keeping options open, testing loyalties, floating offers, probing fractures within the opposition? In a system as transactional as Yaoundé's, nothing is ever left idle without reason. This does not mean Tchiroma is negotiating, nor at all. But it does mean his deniers exist within an environment thick with suspicion, where history teaches citizens to distrust both silence and spectacle. The Zoom meeting last weekend, taken as a whole, felt less like a strategic briefing and more like a sermon, rich in symbolism, heavy on warnings, light on logistics. His stories of near abduction echoed biblical escapes. His praise of host governments resembled diplomatic psalms. His promises to the diaspora sounded like prophecies deferred. And parables, as we know, are designed to teach faith, not explain mechanics. Yet Cameroon's crisis is no longer a matter of faith. It is a matter of structure, of power and timing. The regime in Yaoundé remains intact. The security apparatus remains loyal to the regime. The international community remains cautious, if not indifferent, altogether. Within this context, ladies and gentlemen, moral authority alone cannot topple entrenched power. This is not to dismiss Tchiroma outright. Far from it. His insistence on the stolen mandate keeps alive an uncomfortable truth the regime would prefer buried. His refusal, at least rhetorically, to trade legitimacy for ministerial crumbs distinguishes him from a long line of co-opted opposition figures talking about the fraudies and the rest. Tchiroma's warnings about premature participation in elections are grounded in bitter historical lessons. But politics is judged not by intentions, but by outcomes. For now, Tchiroma stands at a crossroads, familiar to many Cameroonian opposition leaders before him, between exile and engagement, between moral clarity and strategic ambiguity, between what sounds right and what actually works. The diaspora listens, the regime watches, the opposition hesitates, and the country waits. So the question remains, sharper than ever. What now? What now is Tchiroma really up to? And that is my monologue, ladies and gentlemen. What is Tchiroma really up to? I will bring back my panel for tonight, and I will start from Atlanta, Georgia, where I am being joined by the one and only Frank Mendy, joining me again from Atlanta, Georgia. Good to have you, sir.
Hey, Comrade Chris, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I want to say hello to all the tele viewers we're having today and those who come to watch after. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I will also be joined by Mike Fusey, who is about connecting right now. And I want to hope that Shea Tata is still connected. If not, we will continue with it too. You listen to my monologue, Frank. Tell me your take out of that monologue.
Yes, Comrade Chris, I would, join you to say, the silence and the seemingly very long silence is beginning to kind of affect, Isa Chiruma's standpoint in a sort of a negative way. And when we hear some of these statements he put out, they bring both hope and some sort of despair to those that are, eagerly waiting to see, the baby born. This pregnancy has been overdue and the labor has been very, very, very traumatic. And everybody, even his enemies, those who even didn't vote for him, just want to see an end to the quagmire in that, country. I think, the regime is benefiting a lot from, the slow kind of development we are seeing as to, the actions of the President-elect Issa Chiroma, because undoubtedly, he won the elections in La République du Cameroon. But if you see what is happening, it is in favor by the vast majority to the CPDM, regime that is usurping the power in that country. A lot of people are getting, kind of feeling like they should just follow along, with what is in place, becoming afraid of, what can happen to them if they continue, supporting Issa Chiroma. Some are no longer believing, some of the stories he comes out to put out there because people want to see action. People are suffering. So the earlier these guys can, do some concrete baby steps, the better for them because, even, before you start saying that I want to go 1,000 miles, you have to start by taking the first steps. What are the first steps? People are waiting to see them take concrete action on the ground. And if you see, political parties like the party of Professor Maurice Kamto contemplating going back to, the elections, in La République du Cameroon, that is telling a lot. And that is going to affect, the fight for change in that country a lot. Before you know it, the CPDM regime is going to jump into that opportunity and just kind of throw out some crumbs, and like they will expect, what they call the dogs to go fighting after that, and they have the lion's share to keep. So we have seen this over and over and over again, and I just hope that, this will not be the case this time around.
So when you look at the stalemate, it doesn't appear like this stalemate is only on the side of Issa Chiroma. It appears like this stalemate is also on the side of Cameroon. You find a situation where over 3 months after a presidential election, they are still unable to form a cabinet. You find a situation on the opposition where Issa Tchiroma is still saying, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. And there is that statement of when is he coming home? How is he coming home? How can you, what will be your take on this statement on both sides?
On that question, Comrade Chris, we have to look at, the global political situation in La République du Cameroon. We had a division. There were two major camps within, the regime itself. And then Issa Tchiroma came out as a breakaway to form a third camp. And now the fight for power between those two initial camps is very, very strong. And people are fighting to either have, some members of their camps, remain in power while trying to kick out members from the other camp. And so there is that conflict. Now, we also have this other line of thought that, some people are thinking that Issa Tchiroma was sent out there to act as a spoiler, to actually kind of, fragilize the opposition in case they didn't succeed, in their attempt to eliminate Professor Maurice Kamto from the elections. Because even though they had disqualified Professor Maurice Kamto, they were very, very afraid, thinking that the Cameroon, the Cameroonians were going to be able to kind of come up with some very, very strong resistance, protests that would compel the regime to kind of, reinstate Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy. But that didn't happen, and the regime was very happy. And so now, with this other line of thought, it was like Issa Tchiroma was coming out to act as a spoiler, in which case, if, Maurice Kamto was coming in, then he was to kind of, take away some of the votes from Maurice Kamto, and then the regime will go around, try to again negotiate with him, to kind of form a unitary kind of government. And so that can also be something they are looking into. They may be talking even with Issa Tchiroma in the background, and we are here, we don't know what is going on. I just honestly hope that that is not the case, because Cameroon, over the years, over many, many, many years, we have seen this kind of politics play, to the favor of the CPDM regime time and again. So right now, if you ask me, I would say I really don't pay a lot of, credit to what somebody is saying from La République du Cameroun. What I want to see is their actions. If he cannot be able at this point to take concrete actions on the ground, we are as well not seeing any concrete actions, at the level of the international community. They keep saying that they are working in the background. Okay, we want to believe that they are doing something, but we truly want to see them come out with something. We wish them well. We just want the good of the people of La République du Cameroun, just as we want the freedom and the good of our own people in Ambazonia. So that's what I can say on that issue.
All right. You never can trust a La République du Cameroon politician, and I think you are very much correct. I think the regime rigging the elections was hoping that right after the election, they will call Issa Tchiroma, sit him down and say, we give you the position of Speaker of the National Assembly, or Speaker, leader of the Senate, or maybe the Minister of Territorial Administration. And apparently things didn't happen the way they were thinking, and they hope that, and they are now worried. But the idea that anybody can believe a lot of public to Cameroon politician, even Issa Chiroma, when they say they are not negotiating and yet we don't see anything coming from La Republic to Cameroon, is very suspicious. Let me hear what Shea thinks about this being close to the ground. Oh, I think Shea is still frozen there. I guess we can get him. But why still waiting for Mike Fusi to join? I see he is connected but not on camera. I hope he can get on camera. But Frank, go on. What do you think? What do you think? Do you see La Republic negotiating with Tchiroma, and Tchiroma is buying time to negotiate to get the best deal from La Republic to Cameroon?
Comrade Chris, what I can say to that question is, in this world of today, nothing is impossible. All these, things are possible. And, negotiating is not a bad thing in itself. But you have to have the interest of what you stand for at heart to be able to withstand, the La République regime. That regime is a vicious regime. It is a regime that is, is willing to stand at nothing when it comes to them remaining in power.
All right, hold your thought there, Frank. Hold your thought there, because Shea is joining from ground zero and his network is shaky. Let's get to him. I'm sure you've been listening. You've been listening to the line of thought there, Shea. What are you hearing on ground zero that is stopping La République du Cameroon from forming a cabinet 3 months after their presidential election? Do you think that Issa Tchiroma, by coming out to say, I am not in any negotiation with Cameroon, and Cameroon not being able to form a cabinet, do you see a possibility where Tchiroma is buying time to have the best negotiated settlement with La République du Cameroon?
Comrade Chris, thank you again for having me back, and thank you for that question. I I laugh because you know that Cameroon, being a president, is just there as a stooge, is a puppet leader. He does not even that he remembers what he read. It was written that he was going to form a cabinet. Biya is not forming any cabinet, but there are people who are negotiating to form a cabinet. And each time a cabinet is being initiated or proposed, it leaks out because people are in different camps, like Ben Modux once said on our TV. And what is happening is that once people from this other
Okay, we're having issues again with
there is a challenge that people who want to take out of the regime, they also are sabotaging the whole process. So if we think that Biya is even forming a cabinet, it's just a cabinet of Ferdinand Ngongo and those who are ruling the country. And that's basically what has been delaying it. You will notice that even since 2018, before 2018, they used to reshuffle, change ministers and so on. But because of this war and the challenges that they have been facing, you will notice that if at all any minister has been changed, we have not had up to 3.
All right, hold in there. Let me bring in Mike Fusi, who is joining from Delaware. Good to have you, sir.
Good afternoon, Comrade Chris. Good afternoon, Chairman Frank. Good afternoon, Comrade Shea. Sorry, I had to rush back from work to get on the show. Yeah, I'm actually in Pennsylvania, Comrade Chris.
Oh,
My
Pennsylvania. Okay, all right.
yeah.
You have been observing. I don't know whether you learned of the meeting last weekend where Tchiroma addressed Project C, virtual meeting, and promised returning home and getting all diasporan political activists finally back home. But the question is, when is this returning home? How is it going to happen? And he also refuted allegations of negotiating with La République du Cameroon. But as I have said, you never, ever trust a La République du Cameroon's politician, not even Issa Tchiroma. You remember he was the one who said nobody is being killed in Amazonia and no war in Amazonia. Do you see the possibility that he is making these promises with negotiations, background negotiations with Cameroon?
Comrade Chris, when it comes to the politics in La Republic Cameroon and the statement that Issa Chiroma is coming back, the first question I would like to ask is define coming back. When they talk about coming back, what does coming back entail? Uh, yeah, because is he coming back to reclaim his lost presidency that Paul Biya stole from him while still being in exile, or is he coming back physically? Because if he is just coming back to remain in the diaspora and fight from abroad, okay, the question then is, what is he going to do different from what he has done before? What other tools or methods is he going to bring to bear that will be worthy of bringing the required change or displacing those who are in charge of the country now, or cause them to make way for him to come and assume power? So if he's coming back simply by staying out and hoping that somebody, some international authority will intervene on his behalf, then I think he's dreaming, because that's not going to happen. Because, Comrade Chris, if you look at the world today, previously there used to be a semblance of a world order where some kind of pressure, given the necessity, could be brought to bear on some tyrant like Paul Biya to behave how he ought to behave. But if you look at the world order today, it's in disarray. Europe is not even agreeing with America today. So each person is like trying to survive in this world right now. So nobody has time to intervene on behalf of Tchiroma. Now, let's take the other example, that is he coming physically to reclaim his presidency? Then the question is, what would he do to, because the first thing, if he's coming back physically, he must first of all address his security while within the Republic's territory. Because it will be a grave mistake if Tchiroma should allow himself to be picked up and be brought to the so-called judicial system of La République du Cameroon. Remember, is it a Kani who was picked up and locked up and he died in prison? And we thought that there would be an uprising. Until today, nobody is talking about it. It's just died like that. So if Tchiroma is coming back physically, then I will hope that he is coming back with at least some big sticks, if you know what I mean. That he has some big sticks that will accompany him, and the personnel to carry those big sticks to ensure that he creates around himself a fortress that will guarantee his security while within the territory of La République du Cameroon. If he does not have that, then I'll advise him to stay wherever he is. Now, Comrade Chris, you remember that some time ago when Eric Chinje was on your show, and they kept making all these very loud promises, how something was going to happen in December, how this was going to happen, that's going to happen. And I did call into the show, and I told him that, look, If you do not include a military option as one of your strategies or tools to fight against these people, then you better shut up. Because that noise you're making will not result in anything positive. Because, Comrade Chris, those you have in that country right now, I will call them raccoons. These are raccoons. They are out to tear down everything, rip apart anything, kill anyone. Their main objective is to survive. They don't care about justice. They don't care about human rights. They don't care about fairness. They only want to survive, and they are determined to do whatever it takes to survive. Now, if you are someone who truly wants to make sure that these raccoons are displaced, then you must be able to use the tools that are necessary to eradicate these marauding raccoons within your territory. If you don't have that, either the tools or the determination, then you better stay quiet and stop making noise. That's what I would say to Chiroma and his campaign. If you have, you know what will take to displace these people. If you have it, then come out and make some noise. If not, leave people alone. Thank you.
Let us get back to uh, Frank. I see you nodding your head there. What do you agree or disagree?
I perfectly agree with what Comrade Mike Fusi just said. My salutations to you, Comrade Mike. And I think, we have seen over and over again that there is only one language that this regime understands: fire for fire, trade fire for fire. That's it. That is Joseph putting it out as plainly as it is. Whatever may be happening, outside of Cameroon. Remember, once they said when Yaoundé respires, it means Cameroon is alive. So if these guys, they have the breathing space, they have the slightest breathing space in Yaoundé to continue rigging and stealing and looting and embezzling and all those, those words you can use. They don't care what happens. They don't care whether 100 people are dying on their roads, through accidents every day. They don't care whether people don't have water to drink. They don't care whether women are, passing away when they go into give birth. They don't care about all of that. So, to me, I really think that, the Chiruma's camp should sit down and look at the options that are available for them. They have a lot of resources. They have a lot of power. Even within the regime now, there is a lot of cracks that they can exploit and use. We were talking a while ago about the cabinet reshufflement that is not forthcoming. And you can see that this is because, the camps within the same regime are fighting. Take, for instance, you go, the Minister of Finance, Louis Paul Motaze, is giving orders, and the Director General of the Autonomous Ports in Douala refuses to implement them because this said director has been nominated to replace the person who is giving him the orders as we speak. So he already looks at Motaze as, somebody who is not supposed to, order him around anymore. And so you can see also even Atanganji. Atanganji is now kind of like a chicken that has been thrown into red oil. He is nowhere to be found because Atanganji has been shortlisted to be kicked out. The regime now sees Atanganji as a dangerous element, that is rather bringing a lot of harm to their survival than any good. There are many of them like that. And a lot of those ministers are threatening that if they leave them out of the new cabinet, they are going to either, join the Isa Chiruma camp, or they are going to spill out, the beans. They are threatening the regime that they have the original election results and they will put them out there, to discredit the regime should those kind of decisions be taken against them. So now that has brought the whole situation into a kind of, a cacophony. There is a lot of confusion going around. They really don't know how to process, what they have on the table right now. And so they are just trying to kind of find some, some ways that can help them at least limit the degree of, damage that can get caused. And I don't really see them, finding a solution anytime soon. So that's what I can say on that question.
I have heard of that argument, that narrative of taking out certain people, including Paul Atanganji, Ngo, and the rest. In fact, they mentioned that there are five people. In fact, the
Even
informant told me
Diongute
there's
is
actually
also
nothing like cabinet change. There are only five people that they wish they are gone, and the government moves on. And those five people, Ngongo, Atanganji, that shot Yaounde guy, who I think he was Minister of Education before. I've forgotten his name. Five of them, no, six of them actually, that they want gone. And if those five are gone, they just continue. But then another problem is you take out Atanganji. How can you promise anybody to do what, or encourage anybody to do what Atanganji has done for the regime? Who will do the kind of harsh job he has done for the regime? So it is difficult to take some of them out from within the ranks. But I don't know whether this amounts to holding a new cabinet hostage. Let Mike Fossey come in here with his opinion.
Yes, Comrade Chris. I'm here. I know you are trying to remember the name of Jacques Famindongo.
Jacques Famindongo, yes.
Yes, Ndongo, that is it.
The guy who said 30 giga égale 500 giga. When I brought toy Chinese computers and was distributing to the younger university students. These are people. You look at Jacques Famindongo right now. He looks like some kind of caricature, But if you can imagine the amount of money that this truncated shape has embezzled in that country, these are the people who have ruined that country. These are the people. Talking about these people being replaced, and at some point, I think they are just playing at each other. They float these lists. Some are maybe coming from the government itself. Some are coming from, I hear they have professional lobbyists within themselves now, lobbying for the various cabinet members to make sure they are on the list. It's just a jungle out there. And that is why it is difficult to really understand what is going on there. And that's what happens when the head of the household is a madman or it's just gone insane. There is no leader. The power bear that we once knew is not there anymore. So I can imagine the looting that is going on now is just at an alarming proportion. I'm sure you've heard a report that said power bear just signed a decree that they should borrow, I think, 1.6 trillion francs CFA. They're calling it 1,600 and something billion, but it actually is 1.6 trillion. on top of what they just borrowed towards the later part of last year, close to another trillion CFA. So, but the question is, what are they doing with all of this money when everything in that country is falling apart? Everything is falling apart. It is hard to fathom what is going on in that country. There is lawlessness. There is just outright thievery. There is outright murder in broad daylight, and nothing happens. Like a Kanye who was murdered in jail. Nobody has been held to account for that crime. So, Chris, I don't know what to say when it comes to the politics in La Republic of Cameroon. Normally, under such circumstances, you expect an informed populace to rise up and demand change and say enough is enough. We are not taking this anymore. But I don't know what Kool-Aid these people are given to drink. Everybody is just numb. Everybody is just docile. Everybody is just trying to survive. I was watching a video today of timber companies, timber vehicles transporting timber out of the eastern region. And you needed to see the road through which these trucks were passing. That is, the trucks were barely making it through the road where on the one side there's a deep embankment being washed away by erosion. And I must congratulate the drivers of those trucks that they have so much courage to get in those trucks and drive through those roads. But you ask yourself, how greedy can these people be? Just to spend a little bit, a fraction of the money that you are taking from these vehicles, from these timber trucks, just to fix the road so the trucks can pass safely. Just to reinvest it so you can even exploit the timber even more easily. They don't even have the discernment, the discipline to do even that. Then what can you expect? What can you expect from a country like that? It is pathetic. It is pathetic. And that is why, bringing it back to the situation of them and the Southern Cameroons, we can never again allow ourselves to be hinged to the waist with these people. It is a road to nowhere. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. We have to insist that henceforth we have nothing to do with these people.
All right. Gentlemen, you stay put in there. When we come back, I would like us to discuss briefly on the state of Ambazonia's struggle for independence. We're going to briefly discuss that, and then after that, I will have you give me your thoughts on the hypocrisy of the West, a book which yours truly have recently published. Stay tuned, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying put out there. What is the state of Ambazonia's struggle. That is the segment that we bring to you now. It's been 9 years. Actually, October will make it 10 years. That is a decade. A decade after La République, La République du Cameroon launched war on Ambazonia. The war has been going on ferociously, and Ambazonia has refused to surrender. You have fighters all over the territory, determined not to lay down their arms until an amicable settlement is reached between the southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, and La République du Cameroon. However, the question is whether the momentum is still as strong as it was a few years, a few months or so ago. About a month ago, a new organization that may bring in every other group together was launched, called SCAF, Southern Cameroon Unity Front. And the planning stage of it is still going on, and my Fusi, you are one of those at the forefront of that. Tell us, in the context of the state of the struggle, how is that organization coming up, sir?
Yes, Comrade Chris, thank you for asking that question. You will understand that in every liberation struggle, there come times when the morale is low, where there is a need to step back, take a look at how far the struggle has come, and when need be, to adopt new strategies that can help to bring back lost momentum, if the momentum had been lost at that moment. So, and that is especially when you find a situation where there has been a fragmentation of a struggle, thus limiting our ability to work together, to share ideas, strategies, and to amass the necessary resources with which to prosecute the struggle. It is with this in mind that the SCAF was created with the purpose of bringing back Ambazonians, especially given the frustrations that many of our supporters had experienced or had with the many versions of the IG as we once knew it. And this far, this idea of SCAF has been well received, I should say, from Chris, as compared to other initiatives that have been introduced in the past. And the reason why it has succeeded this far is because the leadership of this initiative was taken from the leaders and placed in the hands of the people, because we realized that there was no leader that was trustworthy or was trusted enough by the people, I should say, to lead an initiative that would bring others into the fold. So we said, okay, we are not going to dismiss the leaders per se, but at the very start of this initiative, we want the people to lead it. We want the people to be the ones guiding it, so there will be the buy-in of the people into this idea. And that is how we started this initiative. Let me simply give you a brief description of the structure of SCAF, Comrade Chris. SCAF, when we started deliberating, it started with some public meetings of all Ambazonians from all the movements within our struggle. And we opened the meetings with suggestions, ideas, complaints. We listened to everybody, and they expressed themselves. And from the ideas and suggestions that were expressed during these meetings, a structure was established. And this structure is as follows. The main body of this structure is the General Assembly. The General Assembly, which has the supreme authority over all the other organs of this SCAF. and it embodies every pro-independent Amazonian. I wanted to insist on that. Pro-independent Amazonian. That's the mission. If you are a federalist, we encourage you to continue with your own activism somewhere else. But this movement is for pro-independent Amazonians only. Now, after the General Assembly, we have the committees. We have several committees. You have what we call a civic resistance committee. We have a social affairs committee. We have a diplomatic committee. We have an ethics and conflict resolution committee. Given the fact that previous problems that we've had in the struggle have been due to the fact that previous conflicts or disagreements within the movement were not properly handled, and they were allowed to balloon out of proportion and cause enormous havoc within our structure. So we have that committee to address that. So there are other committees that have to handle various issues within the movement. Now, after the committees, we have the secretariat. The secretariat is like the management body or the coordinating body of all the other organs, be it the General Assembly or the committees. And then there is also the Leadership Council. The Leadership Council will be comprised of leaders that are deemed to have influence within the structure. And that is the next organ that will be created. As of now,
I would like a little more explanation as to the constitution of the Leadership Council. That is the decision. That is the decision-making organ of the organization. Am I correct?
Let me give an analysis that will well capture how this structure is organized. I said the General Assembly is the body. The committees are like the engine of SCAUF. That is where the main work is taking place. It's like the workshop of SCAUF are within the committees. Then the secretariat is like the computer of SCAUF. And I would say that the Leadership Council is like the steering wheel. But SCAUF is like a smart car, Chris. Taking into consideration the complexities that we've had before, SCAUF is like a smart car. It is so designed such that even if the steering wheel is not properly handled, the vehicle will still be able to get to its destination. That is where you have the computer of SCAUF being the secretariat, and the engine is within the committees, and the body is the General Assembly. If the steering wheel being the Leadership Council, even if it goes bad, this driverless vehicle that still benefits from a steering wheel and will have added advantage of the steering wheel can still get the job done even without the steering wheel. But there is the provision for the steering wheel. That is why we have it structured that way, to prevent a situation where if something goes wrong with the steering wheel, as we have had in this talk before, where the top leadership goes bad and everything goes bad. We wanted to preempt that situation from happening again, making it sure that this vehicle called SCAUF can still get to its destination as a driverless car, a smart car, even if there's something wrong with the steering wheel. So I don't know if that captures that answers your question. That is the concept with which a SCAUF was designed, to make sure that it gets the job done no matter what.
No, I get the point. However, I would ask, in the absence, because you are waiting to create a leadership council that comprises essentially all the leaders of different movements that we have in the struggle. What happens If some leaders join, some do not join, or all the leaders do not join, what happens from there? Now,
I think
I say this with a backdrop of what we have seen over the past 3, 4 years, where we have tried everything to bring collaboration to work to no avail. We've been to different conferences, different meetings, just to try to bring the other leaders to come together so we could work as a team. That never worked. I mean, you are very much aware of that.
yep.
What happened in this situation in the SCAUF if these leaders refuse to come together to form the leadership council?
That takes you exactly to the point I just made. That is why this vehicle is designed such that whether these leaders choose to come together or not, SCOUT will still be able to get the job done. So it is up to them to be part of the movement. But their non-participation will not handicap SCOUT. That is
But
how
then, hold on there. But then you find a situation where if they do not come in to be part of SCAUF, and there is no leadership council, SCAUF becomes essentially another group. Another
they
group.
are
Why
certainly
you have these other groups still, it defeats the purpose of the whole thing, isn't it?
no, it will not. It will not because SCOUT certainly has attracted the attention of some of the leaders already. So it is not like it will be an empty house. There will be leaders that will be sitting in the leadership council. Those who will choose to be out there will be seen by Amazonians as those who are against unity. And I think at this point, Amazonians are just fed up with people who continue to posture and to project themselves above the interests of the struggle. Brazilians don't like such people anymore. And you have seen some of those who have been pushing for this kind of attitude losing members at an alarming rate. So, depending on as more people buy into the ideology of Scout, I'm very convinced that those who refuse to be part of this unitary effort will find themselves selling alone. That is my hope, and I fervently believe that is what Amazonians will do. They will dump these people and come together and do what is right for Amazonia, because SCAF is the main motive of the existence of SCAF is the liberation of the southern Cameroons. SCAF is not a place, it's not a government. SCAF, you will not hear on maybe 20 May or whatever, some leader from SCAF going out to address the Amazonian people. No, SCAF is not interested in that. SCAF is focused, is a liberation movement. It's not a political organ.
All right, before we change topic, let Frank weigh in there before we change the subject, please.
Yeah, Comrade Chris, thank you for giving me, the opportunity to say something on this subject. And Comrade Mike, thank you for that explanation. I have been, following up with the evolution, and the progress that it's been made by SCAUF. And I have put out, my support to the initiative, of SCAUF. I again want to use your platform to invite all Amazonians of goodwill who have the freedom of our homeland at heart to join SCAUF. However, I also have, something to put out to, the leaders of SCAUF, the working group. My idea of SCAUF at this level we are at we should be more interested in getting Amazonians come into that organization, into that body. That is very, very important because right now the membership of SCAUF to me gives us that platform or that possibility to do certain things, but to just a certain extent. We cannot at this point, dive into issues that will need, the backing of the majority, or say a good proportion of the people of Amazonia that are standing for this freedom. We want to get them in. And the reason for that is that we don't want to get ahead with, putting some structures in place at this initial, level that will be questionable. People will come in and say, what is the authority of these structures?
It shouldn't,
Because
Frank, I'm not cutting you short, but you raise a legitimate point. However, shouldn't the people be in there now doing exactly what you are suggesting? Because I don't think anybody has been kept out from coming in to participate, to contribute opinion.
yes, I would
Because
say
if you
the
are, because you
people.
can imagine, if you are waiting for everybody to come in, everybody will not come in at the same time. So it is important that those who are there do something that maybe then attract those other people to come in and be part of it.
Exactly. That is why I support the putting together of the secretariat of SCAUF, which, like Comrade Mike Fusi rightly said, is like the computer of the organization. Now, let the job that we have to do be that of, bringing in a lot more of the people that are supposed to be in there. We should not be in a hurry, like to set up, he made mention of, the leadership
So,
council,
yeah.
for instance. We should not also be in a haste to dismiss somebody that we approach for the first time and he says, "Oh, I will think about it," and then we start acting as if, "Oh, this one doesn't want to join." There have been a lot of things that have happened, and a lot of people are very, very reserved as to what they sign up to. We have to show ourselves credible. We have to show ourselves friendly, brotherly. That comradeship or that camaraderie should be exemplary. And so I have, in many instances, cautioned, the way we go about doing things. We should do things in a different way. I believe in systems where power comes from the people. When you get power from the people, you are able to execute your office easier
So
than when you
what
try to.
exactly in this situation do you mean by power coming from the people, considering that, as Mike has stated, you have the General Assembly, you have the organs, you have the uh, Leadership Council?
So at this level, what I mean by that is uh, the number we have is good enough at this point to help us or to allow us set up the secretariat.
Okay.
We should not hastily move into the setting up of other departments of the organization that need broader consultation and participation. Because if we go ahead and do that, then we will be like shooting ourselves on the foot, because we have people that we need who will turn around and not be willing to join and will be quick to go out there and tag us as a few trying to usurp the authority of the people of Amazonia. I don't know whether you
Yeah, I
you,
get
you
a
see a
point. I
point
get a
what I'm
point.
trying to say.
That is a subject we will probably discuss elaborately in a program dedicated to this subject. But Mike, if you want to say something, 50 seconds so we can move to the next subject and open the phone lines.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Shema Frank is right. We are not. That is why you've seen, if you have seen the way we've gone about this thing is, we have tried to be as respectful as possible. We have tried to be as cordial as possible. We have tried to reach out and to consult as many Ambazonians as possible to be part of the process. And even as we speak, there are still other communication invitations that will be distributed to the various organizations, inviting them to be part of this initiative. Like I said, this is more of a liberation movement. It is not meant to exalt anybody. That's why you see there's no president of it or this or that. It's just Ambazonians coming together and trying to see how we can do things differently, learning from the mistakes of the past and trying to avoid them as we forge ahead. And I will really hope that Ambazonians will see the sincerity and the transparency and the openness that this process provides, and that they will want to be part of it. And that is just what we hope, and we are very optimistic that because even people who criticize the process very strongly when we started, when they saw the way the structures were being formed and the measures that were the guardrails and control points that were being put in place to be sure that excesses of people who would want to do things differently are curbed in this process. A lot of them are beginning to believe in what we are doing, and they are coming on board. And in the days ahead, you will see several voices coming out and speaking on behalf of CAO because of what they have witnessed themselves by being listeners or observers of the inner workings of CAO and what it promises for the liberation of the Southern Command, Ambazonia.
All right, great. Again, we will dedicate a show one of these days just to discuss what SCAOF is trying to do and the progress itself. Gentlemen, stay put. When I come back, let's discuss a little bit on the hypocrisy of the West. The hypocrisy of the West. It couldn't have come out at any better time than this. So please stay put. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, when I come back from a brief break, I'm going to bring you a short monologue on what this book, The Hypocrisy of the West, is all about. Please stay tuned. I will be right back.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com.
The West lectures the world about democracy, then it bankrolls dictators. It condemns oppression, then it congratulates stolen elections. In this book, The Hypocrisy of the West, veteran journalist Chris Enu exposes the double standards that define modern global politics. From Africa to the Middle East and beyond, Western powers present themselves as champions of freedom, while quietly propping up tyranny in the name of stability and strategic interest. This book pulls back the curtain. Why dictators are rewarded after rigged elections. How human rights become optional when power is at stake. Why some wars provoke outrage and others silence. How selective justice shapes the global order. Written in a bold, direct, and uncompromising voice, The Hypocrisy of the West is not a theory, it is a reckoning. It challenges official narratives, names uncomfortable truths, and forces readers to confront a world governed by convenience, not principle. You should read this book if you have ever questioned why some dictators are sanctioned while others are celebrated. Get your copy of The Hypocrisy of the West today on Amazon. Read it, question everything, then decide where you stand.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That is what it is all about. But let me bring you a little depth into what I have published there, titled The Hypocrisy of the West. What is it all about? Before I take you into the discussion with my panel, again, let me give you a little depth in it. The new book argues, or the book argues, that African migration is not an accident of poverty, but the predictable outcome of Western hypocrisy. Africans are repeatedly urged, they are told to reform their political systems. They are told to embrace democracy and hold their leaders accountable. Africans do exactly that. They vote. But when those votes threaten entrenched power and Western interests, elections are rigged, results are stolen, and dictators cling to office by force. Instead of defending the ballot, the people's ballot, Western governments are often the first to legitimize the fraud, then congratulating leaders whose victory was manufactured rather than earned. That is the crux of the book. When citizens protest, they are arrested or killed. When they seek justice, the courts side with power, not with the people. Over time, voting is empty of meaning and reduced to a hollow ritual. Every peaceful path to change is deliberately blocked. Faced with a system designed to defeat them, people stop believing in reform. Migration becomes the final option, not because Africans refuse to build their own countries, but because the international order helps preserve systems that make change impossible. And there are so many examples I have quoted in the book. I've quoted the recent examples of Cameroon, quoted the examples of Uganda, the examples of Cote d'Ivoire, the examples of Burkina Faso, the examples of Tanzania, so many others. The West, ladies and gentlemen, wants Africa to change their system. They tell us we cannot do anything. We cannot change your systems for you. You can change your own system, so they say. But then, how do Africans change their systems? Of course, through elections, through the ballot box. But when Africans go to the polls, the elections are conducted, they are rigged, and entrenched power declares victory. The same West that tells you to change your system is the first to go out to congratulate the dictator who rigged elections to stay in power. If you are Cameroonian, you know what I'm talking about. If you are Ugandan, you know what I'm talking about. If you are in Tanzania, you know what I am talking about. Now, when Africans have tried to change the system to no avail, they realize everything is blocked. Blocked by who? By the congratulatory messages sent from the West to these dictators. And so when Africans discover that there is no way to change, the only thing they do without jobs, without education, without health care, without a means of living. The only option is to leave. And so you find them in the Amazon forest trying to get to America. You find them in the deserts of North Africa and the Sahara and the oceans of North Africa trying to get to Western Europe. Not because Africans hate their own families, their own countries, their own culture or whatever, because they realize there is no way of survival back at home. This is what this book is all about. I have penned it with good examples that when you read it, you will nod your head. But the reason I did this, ladies and gentlemen, is not because I want to get rich out of it. I wrote it out of conviction, passion for what I say. I am one person that hates injustice. And that is why I am very passionate when I fight for freedom, when I fight for liberty, when I write stuff like this. I hate to see injustice. Look at what is happening in the world today. Look at what is happening in the world today. I was listening, ladies and gentlemen, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, in Switzerland, is this Netherlands or Switzerland, Davos Economic Conference. And I almost wept listening to this guy. The West is telling the Iranians to go and fight. The Iranians are there fighting in their thousands for weeks without going home. They have been killed in their thousands, and the West is telling them to fight, to fight. We are coming to help you. Where is the West? The West has not shown up. But thousands of Iranians have been killed and some hung to their own death. And the West pushed them to do that. Look at the West. They are asking Russia, how can you invade a whole sovereign country with territorial integrity? And yet, another Western power goes to the backside and picks up a leader of another sovereign country, and it just looks okay. Now I see the dog is eating the dog at this moment. When another Western power is saying, give me Greenland, give me Greenland. And then suddenly, others' eyes are open. Come on, don't you know we are the same people? Come on, don't you understand we share the same heritage? Come on, don't you understand we are all Westerners? We are all NATO members? That is the hypocrisy that has extended to the rest of the world by the same people, ladies and gentlemen. That is the subject of that book. And again, the book is available on Amazon. You can get a copy, a hard copy, a paperback copy, or you can buy a Kindle edition. If you are anywhere in Africa, I think with the exception of South Africa and maybe Ghana, you can buy a hard copy. You can order a hard copy if you're in Ghana or South Africa on Amazon, and it will be delivered to you. But if you're anywhere in Europe, in the USA, a hard copy, a paperback copy can be delivered to you, or you can order a Kindle copy, which just entails paying and downloading it. So thank you for doing so. But let me bring back Mike Fusi and Frank Mendy to give me their observations about this this book. And Frank, let me start with you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Chris. And I want to first of all begin by congratulating you on this outing. To be honest, I have known Comrade Chris for quite some time now, and without throwing any flowers on you, I can say one thing I retain of you is that you are an honest person. You are a straightforward person, and so I don't miss my words when I call you a straight shooter. But also, I have seen over the years we have worked together, your commitment, your dedication, your sacrifices for freedoms not just the freedom of Ambazonia, but the freedom of humanity. I have seen you in many instances go out there on issues that a lot don't even want to show up anywhere when those issues are being talked about. But you put, yourself on the line, you put your face out there on the line, and you say the things just like you are convicted to say them. And for that, I really want to say I admire you for that. That is why when I saw this book, I saw the publicity about this book. I said I need to get a copy for myself as soon as possible, and I need to get a few more copies for some of my good friends, because I know it is coming from the heart of somebody who is sincere, who writes what he thinks, and not out of bias or some kind of coercion. So, without having read the book, I can say that I am very, very positive about the impact of this book, in the minds of those that will read it. So, just about the book, I will let it be at that point, Comrade Chris.
All right, all right. Thank you, thank you. Let me get to Mike Fossey to get his take. Mike, sir.
Yes, Comrade Chris, as Comrade Frank has said, I think this book could not be more timely at this moment in our history within the African continent. I think it captures what we are going through, and it underscores the difficulties that we have had and continue to have when it comes to effective leadership and the ability to change bad leaders within the African continent. Because Comrade Chris and Comrade Frank, you will remember that back in the days of elementary school, they would tell you, oh, democracy is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And this sounded so wonderful. And in our naive minds, we thought this was just such a wonderful thing. But just imagine that we are able to choose our own leaders. This is how democracy was sold. But is that really what democracy is? Is that really what democracy is, especially as practiced within the African continent? It is not democracy within the African continent. It's not a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. It is dictated. It is truncated. Democracy practiced in Africa is like, if it were like a formula. Those who introduced democracy in Africa, it seems they manipulated with one of the variables of that formula. They manipulated with one of the variables so that no matter what data you plugged into this formula, the only answer that Africa got was dictatorship. We never got through democracy. Each time, no matter the data you put in, you are guaranteed to come out with a rigged election and a dictatorial regime. Because, Comrades, how is it that the West, that will sometimes pretend to go to war for the sake of preserving or protecting democracy, the same West will sit by and allow someone like Paul Biya or the other guy of Uganda or the guy of Senegal to manipulate the constitution, and that will allow them to run for multiple limitless terms of office. And yet the same West will not allow that same practice to occur in their own homeland. How many times have we heard that the president of France has changed the constitution to allow him to run for another term of office? How many times has that happened in the United States? How many times has it happened in Canada? How many times has it happened in Germany? But why is it that when it comes to Africa, they are willing to allow this to happen, and we are not blaming them because we expect them to be war police to do that, but If you say you go to war for the sake of protecting democracy, how then can you welcome the same people that are violating the principles of democracy and you call them your excellencies? You welcome them, you spread out the red carpets for these same people who sit tight and they change their constitutions to remain in power term after term after term. Paul Biya, who is now 90, going on 93 years, and the West is so shameless to still recognize this person as a leader. And you talk about protecting democracy. Democracy, I honestly believe that when democracy was conceived, it was not conceived with Africa in mind. It was not conceived with Africa in mind. The democracy was conceived. It's just something that when Africa started looking at the West and seeing how they were leading their own governments, and they were asking, but okay, if you are benefiting from this, why not us? And they said, okay, if you want it so much, we'll let you have it. But then they made sure that, as I mentioned in the previous day, they made sure that the formula was tampered with before they allowed it to come to Africa. And we can understand this, Comrade Chris, because effective democracy in Africa inhibits the ability of the West to exploit the world of Africa with impunity. Because if you were to actually choose your own leaders in Africa, those leaders will not be able to allow the West to exploit our resources at giveaway prices. That is why they are up in arms now against our brothers of the Sahel, because they are doing the right thing by their people. So when the West is protesting against these leaders of the Sahel, it is not because they've done anything wrong. It is because they are making sure that the resources of their lands, of their soil, are actually going to benefit their people. And when it benefits their people, the only group that is not benefiting is the West, and they don't like that. So they would rather have people who will sit there and deprive their own citizens of basic amenities like potable water, like electricity, like the internet, like good road network infrastructure. They would rather prefer those people like the Paul Biyas of this world, who allow them to exploit the resources with impunity while their people languish in misery. And then they will say, they pretend to practice democracy, and these people don't care. They don't care. They will go to Venezuela and pick up this man there, but Paul Biya is doing worse than the president of Venezuela, but nobody is saying anything about it. That it ties exactly with the title of the book you have just written, Democracy. If that's not hypocrisy, then I don't know what it is. That is what we are dealing with. People who say one thing and do quite something else. Because the development of Africa threatens the availability of resources to feed the industries of the West. That is the main problem. That is why Lumumba was killed. That is why this man of Ghana was overthrown. That is why most of our good leaders, that's why Sankara was killed. For the same reason. They don't want somebody who will set the example of good leadership in Africa that others will want to emulate. So when somebody comes up like that, they want to make sure that person is eliminated. And I really applaud our brothers of the Sahel again, because they have understood the game. And they realized that if they came up and stood individually to fight the West, they would have already been taken out. What did they do? They said, okay, we are going to band together. If you touch one of us, you touch all of us. That is why they were able to survive this far. Not that they have diminished or stopped, but at least it has helped them to fend off the enemy, at least temporarily. And I hope, and I really hope that we Amazonians can learn from this example. That when we band together, like the brothers of the Sahel, coming together and having an alliance and saying, we stand together, we have a defense argument that one of us touched will invoke a response from all of us. You know, the African Union that has been watchdog of the West doing whatever they want, they were threatening to take military action against them. But once they came together and they made that pronouncement, they backed off. They backed off, and that's how they survived this part. And I hope that we can learn something from it. But Comrade Chris, again, this is a great job you've done here by capturing exactly the hypocrisy of the West when it comes to Africa. They preach democracy, but they push dictatorship because they stand to benefit more from dictatorship than from democracy in Africa.
Absolutely. That is the point. That is the point I'm trying to portray in the book. Some of us came here without any plans. I remember one day I left my house, went up to Victoria, and before I knew, there was a warrant of arrest for me for writing a book that was critical of the Paul Biya's regime. And I went up to Bamenda, and the following day I was on my way, leaving for exile in Nigeria. That was 1992. And I've been in exile ever since, ladies and gentlemen, to today. Not because I planned it, not because I wanted it, not because I couldn't work from home to develop my own country or to fight for my own country, but because I was pushed out. And there are many others. I remember meeting Charlie Ndichia out there in Calabar, and I almost wept when I saw Charlie Ndichia, the man with the most powerful voice then in CRTV, and this guy was languishing out there in Calabar, pushed out by the regime. There are so many. I'm talking about Cameroon. I can talk about other countries. But I think the knowledge that I have put in that book, if you are a revolutionary, a fighter, that should equip you and empower you to keep on fighting. We are going to open the phone lines, and before I open the phone lines, I just want to remind you, this book again is available on Amazon. It's only $17 US dollars on the Amazon. That is for the paperback copy. For the Kindle edition, which you can download onto your phone or tablet and read, it's only, I think, $5. Go ahead and get or grab your own copy. Again, I will open the phone lines at this moment, but before I open the phone line, I see some messages here. This one coming from Ground Zero, and he writes, "Good evening, Secretary Chris. Thanks for giving lucid clarifications on the Ndu massacre. I want to bring to your notice a certain blogger in Cameroon called Cameroon Congosa Corner. This guy is very dangerous. He is accusing Amazonian fighters, telling the world that they are responsible for killing civilians in Ndu without any evidence. Not just that, he is calling Amazonian fighters terrorists, a term he has never used to describe the Cameroon military, who are responsible for more egregious atrocities on the civilian population. Cameroon Congosa Corner, Mimi Mefo, and CNA do not have a single evidence based on facts to show that the murder was done by separatists, yet they want to give a dog a bad name and kill it. This is not journalism, but political maneuvering on human blood. He is not out for truth. He is out to vilify and destroy the Amazonian movement. Well, I have talked about this again and again and again and again. Cameroon has agents. Cameroon has agents online whose job is to make sure they slander Amazonian fighters as much as they want to send a wrong message. And unfortunately, Mimi Mefo seems, I don't know whether she does it deliberately or ignorantly, but I think CNA so far does a good job. I know Hans Info. He does a good job. I think most of his stories are purely journalistic. That doesn't mean he gets everything right, but he tries. He tries compared to Mimi Mefa and those other social media activists paid by La République du Cameroon. But the good thing is that intelligent people have learned you no longer can see anything or everything on the social media and take it for gospel truth. It is not. They are paid propagandists. Imagine this guy called MKPD, right? That buffoon who writes articles to favor La République du Cameroon to support the killing of Amazonian civilians. You think he investigates anything? Of course not. He doesn't. So, Amazonians, if you want to help the struggle, get online, get your own page, and be ready to debunk every falsehood that blacklegs and supporters, activists for La République du Cameroon put online. That is how you fight them. All right, let me read this other note here. Good evening, Comrade Chris. There is this man, Nga Christian, the editor-in-chief of the Guardian Post, who always come to condemn when there is a killing like that of Gidado. He always blame it on the Amber Boys. So, many killings have been committed by the Cameroonians, by the Cameroonian army for these 9 years. He says nothing. I don't know whether this man is a journalist. I don't know whether this man is a journalist. You should be warned. All right? That is the same thing I am talking about here. Okay. Let us see other messages here. Good evening, Comrade Chris. We are watching you live. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. I think there are no other messages other than that. And so we open the phone line. The phone line is there. Go ahead and call, but make sure before you call, your television set, the volume of your set is turned down before you call. Let me know what is on your mind listening to this broadcast today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and call. The phone line is open. The phone line is open. Go ahead and call. Oh, I see. All right. I see the Guardian Post has actually done some justice here for hypocrisy of the West by doing a review of the book on their cover page of today's edition of the paper. Let me get to the phone lines first. Hello.
Hello, Comrade Chris.
Hello, ma'am. Where are you calling from, please?
You're speaking with Bella. I'm calling from the UK, West Midlands.
Wonderful. Good to hear your voice. What is on your mind, ma'am?
First, I want to say congratulations and thank you for a well thought out and written book. My copy is already ordered from Amazon.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait to read it. Yes, and you are so very right about the hypocrisy of the West. And let me read it first and see what happened, and to be able to read all your nice thoughts. But the main reason for calling today is about the initial stage of the program where we had the scarf.
Yes.
That has been a very nice idea that has been brought on about the program. The only thing I want to say is that it's really brought on to something I said in one other time that I called about making our movement in such a way whereby even if the leaders are incapacitated, the movement still goes on. And one of the panel members has raised up a very good point. I think we should not focus so much on the leadership, because everybody has created some faction of the Amazonian struggle and they want to be seen as the leader. And that is the idea that they bring, and they cause gross confusion. This thing has been set up so nice whereby, from my understanding, we have the secretariat and those working committees who are actually like foot soldiers doing the job. Anybody who is for independence out there should come in and join one of the working committees. Let us see whichever leader who says they are for Amazonia independence actually get into these committees, boots on the ground, and be working. They give, or we give ourselves a timeline, and it is from these working committees that we can now form leaders of the SCOF. Not some leader who have sat somewhere in Minnesota or somewhere in Germany or somewhere in the UK and feel like I've become a leader. I want to say yes or no. And yes, indeed, us Amazonians, we are tired of the division and we are tired of the struggles. But one of the things our people must understand is La Republique has permeated the corruption, the deceit, the death has permeated everybody, even us in Southern Cameroons. So it will take time for us to really flourish. But if we have whereby foot soldiers and people working actually decide their leadership, I think that is the best way to go. That's just my point for today. And thank you very much for a great show.
Thank you very much. Appreciated, and your point well articulated. Thank you. You have a great night, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, the phone line remains open. Go ahead and call. Let me know what is on your mind. Again, I am looking here, the cover page of the Guardian Post in La République du Cameroon. Today's edition is carrying a review of the hypocrisy of the West. The Guardian Post edition of today, and that is right from the front page. Very much appreciated. Somebody sent me a message earlier, which I read, condemning the attitude of the Guardian Post in the way they have reported the conflict in Amazonia. And I totally agree with that caller, and I have been one of those who have been in the forefront condemning the style of coverage that the Guardian Post has given Amazonia for the past 9 years. But that they are able to do a review of the hypocrisy of the West and have it on their front cover. Is quite appreciated. I hope that this marks the beginning of a new relationship between the Guardian Post and the freedom, the struggle for Amazonia's freedom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the phone is open. The phone line is open. Go ahead and call. Let me know what is on your mind. Without any phone calls, we will shut down the live broadcast in the next 5 minutes. So if you have to call, go ahead and call right now. Go ahead and call right now. The phone line remains open. All right. All right. Let's get to this caller here. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening, comrade.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Germany. I wish to appreciate you for your book. I think I will buy my own copy. It's a great job.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Now, well, but I would also like to point out, because it's a realization that a lot of us had a long time ago. If there is the hypocrisy of the West, what stops Amazonia from looking at the East, like the Sahel states? That's a food for thought, because I think from the analysis made in your book, I think it should lead to a logical conclusion that we must take.
Hold on there. Hold on there. I have heard that line of argument or suggestion for quite a while. When you are talking of looking east at the Sahel states, you are talking about Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea, maybe Mali. You have to realize those people are still fighting for their own security. You cannot even think for a moment Burkina Faso is going to come to your help when they are fighting insurgency back at home and at the same time fighting the French. How many coups?
That's not what I was saying. That's not what I was saying. I'm saying, but they looked at the East, at an Eastern power. You know, they talk about.
Oh, I get it. I get the East you are talking about. I know the East you are talking about now. All right, go on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but this is also the problem.
Because, you know, from the it takes Amazonia more than our donations and relying on Resolution 1608 and something like international law, which really does not really exist anymore. I'm sure that was one of the things that your book would also expose.
Yeah.
To get this liberation, I think it would take more of a strategic geopolitical alignment for our country to be free.
No, you are 100% correct. The question is, even when you look towards the east, don't forget the country you are referring to in the east is in alliance with La Republic. You remember that, right?
Of course. The thing is, since it's a matter of interest, I can tell you how. Don't forget that eastern country, La Republic separates the Central African Republic and Amazonia. And I think that if you can argue very well and show to them how the trick that the West usually play and the hegemony can actually touch them through La Republic, then Amazonia becomes interesting with the port of Victoria, with the port of Tico. You know, we have something to offer, but it's like we need to take it to the table when we are discussing this geostrategic positioning. The East think power, I think that should be something that Amazonia should consider to align with, like Mandela did, like the Sabora Machel did, like the Sahel states are doing. It's an alternative, and I think that we can also consider that. And I think that from the analysis of your book, it should make that point very clear.
Thank you. I get the point. Unfortunately, it's not something we elaborate on television, but the point is very well taken.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, the second thing is, Skauf, I also want to thank you for bringing that up I hope that in subsequent editions, because to make such an initiative work well, people need a lot of education and it needs time. And I think I'll be very grateful if you can offer a platform for people to be educated more about it.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. The phone line remains open. Gentlemen, what do you think about the suggestion from the last caller about looking eastward?
Comrade Chris, you want me to come in first before Mike? Let me take it away. We have discussed about some of these suggestions, backstage. What I can say here is that, geopolitics is a game of interest. Our comrade is 100% correct when he says It's a matter of what you can offer or bring to the table. Remember, La République is in alliance with the West. Remember, that is the same La République that turns around and goes to the East, being, talked about, and gets other alliances. The, the most important thing that we are missing at this point is that the people that our comrade is referring to are very much angry with France. And all what is happening in the two Cameroons is as a result of the influence of France, in La République du Cameroun and in Ambazonia.
Comrade, your point is very legitimate, but I would suggest that let's avoid some details here,
Good.
so nobody
Yeah, that's
is
fine. Okay,
able to
I
figure
just want to
out
say
what
one thing
direction
about
we
the
are
massacre
inclined to.
in
Go on, please.
Gidado before I hand over to Comrade Mike Fusi. You see, our people, please let Ambazonians shine their eyes, like we say in our local jargon. Open your eyes to the things that are happening around you. We saw the massacres. All of us, we were appalled about what happened. But we have seen this happen in Gabo. We have seen this happen in Womb. We have seen this happen in Kumba. We have seen this happen in Mamfi. And when these massacres occurred, what did you see? You saw a repetition of the exact photocopy of what happened in Womb. La République soldiers going around with some Fulani guys and saying that, oh, the Fulani guys are now, they have taken up machetes and, sticks and whatsoever. They are going after, the Ambazonians. They are saying that they want to go kill their parents, their brothers, their sisters, because Ambazonians are the ones that committed that crime. Tell me, if you serve forces of law and order, of security whatsoever, and you see people picking up weapons in that manner, going out that and telling you that they are going to go eliminate people you call citizens of your country that you should be protecting, and you say there is nothing we can do, we are just trying to watch what is going to happen, that tells a lot. You see, the orchestration of the massacre in Gidado could be by the security, the forces of law and order, in quotes, of La République du Cameroun herself. This could also be as a result of the political, environment that is, in that country. People are fighting to be appointed for certain positions. The political elite from that area, they can be, behind this massacre. Because you will remember that there was no probable cause. The people of that village had no issue with Ambazonian fighters. Ambazonian fighters had no prior issue with the people of that village. So what will be the reason for Ambazonian restoration forces to go and massacre? They did not, go about, attacking the men, except for a few. The majority of the victims are children and women. That is very, very unlikely with what we have seen when it comes to, the restoration forces of Amazonia. So La République should not think that they do these things and, they get away with them. The international community, they have eyes that we don't have. They have the satellites in the skies. They have, technology. They have everything to get what they want. We know that at this point, it is just a matter of they are like covering their eyes to what is happening. But people should not think that what they are doing is not going to be, you know, uh, uh, imputed to those concerned. There is a time for reckoning, and when that time comes, whether it is on the part of Ambazonians or La République du Cameroon, people are going to be held accountable for crimes against humanity, for war crimes, for all these atrocities that we are seeing. So La République should not think that they do these things, they get away with them. We know for sure that they are doing these things time and time again because they want to set up infighting within the Amazonian struggle for the restoration of our independence. But we have, as a people, the right to stand together. So I advise Ambazonians, wherever you are, whatever you think you are, when something like this happens, those lives that were lost, these are your brothers and sisters, your parents. Please try to get some findings before you can go out saying something about it. If you don't have anything that can support what you want to say, it is better you try to investigate further.
All right.
So may the souls of those that were massacred rest in peace, and may the perpetrators of these crimes be brought to justice. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mike, your last point, sir, before we call it a night.
Thank you again, Colonel Chris. I think, Chairman Frank, you have addressed that issue where I won't want to belabor it anymore. But I will go to some of the comments that have been made during this show about the SCALF initiative. I think from the comments that have been made so far, you can see the appreciation that Ambazonians have for this process. But all I would say to those who called and to those who are listening or viewing us at this time is, if you like what you've heard, if you like what you are hearing about SCALF, be part of it. Come join it. It is a people's led initiative. We're calling on you to come and be part of it. Let us together liberate our homeland. Let us correct those mistakes of the past and do the right thing for our homeland. As a matter of fact, Chris, I think talking to you earlier during the week, I indicated our willingness to come back again on this very platform sometime next week with more of those who are involved with this process to explain it better, as one of the callers said, that they would like for this education to be done so that people know exactly what SCALF is all about and why it is good. It is a good thing for Ambazonians at this time. And I know some people have had reservations. They've been watching to see what's going on. But please, those who have had the opportunity of coming close to what is happening within the meetings we've had, the planning, the structures that have been set up, are impressed by what they have witnessed. So, and talking about that, our next General Assembly meeting is coming up this Saturday. It normally starts at 6 p.m. Amber time. 6 p.m. Amber time. The Zoom link is normally shared on most of the platforms that we use for our struggle. So please try to come in and be part of this process. We are open to everybody. Everybody. There are people from all the IGs, ADF, you name it. They are all in there. People who previously would not talk to each other are in there, interacting and planning together, because this is what Ambazonians have yearned for the longest time. And it is happening. And we are calling on you to come in and join us so that, as I say, the many hands do light work. There is room for everybody, and there is work for everybody. So when we come back again next week, we will explain more what SCALF is all about, how far we have come, what lies ahead. Because, Comrade Chris, the thing is this: we have been doing certain things within our struggle for some time, the usual things here and there, the same thing. And we want to take this thing to a different level. We want to step up the game to make sure that we create the necessary awareness, that we have the necessary impact that will compel the Republic of Cameroon to see the need to come to the negotiation table. At this time, we are not going to beg La Republic to come to the negotiation table. They will see the need to come to the table. And that is what SCAF is striving to do. That is what we intend to do those things that are necessary to communicate to La Republic of Cameroon and the international community, if there is still one existing, that Ambazonia means business. No one else can do that but us. As we were saying previously about democracy, it is not given. Democracy today, you have to fight for it. It is not what we knew growing up, government of the people, by the people, for the people. It is no longer that. Democracy has to be protected. Even in the United States of America, there is some threat against democracy as practiced in the US, and people are fighting to protect it. Then what more of us who are, when we barely even have it. So we have to fight to have these structures that will serve our people. What is happening in La Republic, if we are hoping that someday things will be better, that is a pipe dream, comrades. It is a pipe dream. It will not happen. It will never happen, because those who are there now are preparing themselves to be there for the longest time possible. And when we look at the alternative, those who are supposed to be in the opposition with the potential of overturning things in that country are mostly easily bought over, or themselves don't have the guts, they don't have the mind, they don't have the stamina to fight against the system and bring about the needed change that can bring relief to that country. Look at those who lined up previously as opposition leaders in La Republic of Cameroon. You all heard that many of them took money. The Joshua Oshis, the Cabral Libby, they took their money. I think they said it was 1 billion, or they distributed money to them. They took their money and sat quiet and endorsed the massive fraud that took place during the so-called presidential election. So with people like that, how do you expect that you will have change in such a country? It will not happen, comrades. If we have to leave these people, they are a chaotic, undisciplined people who are incapable of functioning in a normal, well-organized society. That is who they are. You cannot change them. It's like trying to change a pig. A pig knows that even if you put a white shirt on it, it still go and lie in mud. That is who a lot of big citizens are. They don't know what is good. So let's leave them in the pig style that they enjoy. Come back to Ambazonia, that we know it as a country that once was well structured, had institutions that served the interests of the people, a well-functioning society, well-regulated businesses and everything. Let us come back to our country and rebuild it. If we think we are going to do it hinged on the West with the Republic of Cameroon, it will never happen, comrades. It just will never happen. So thank you all for watching. As I've said, we will be back again to educate you more on the benefits of supporting the SCAF initiative. And thank you, Comrade Chris, for giving us this opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Frank, for joining me. I look forward to having you again, ladies and gentlemen. We will call it a night here, but before I go, I'd like to remind you again that you can find the book Hypocrisy of the West on Amazon.com. Amazon.com. You can get a paperback copy, order a paperback copy, or buy a Kindle version, which means just paying and downloading the full book on Kindle and reading it from there. It is not expensive. It is The paperback is only $17, and the Kindle edition that you download is only about $5. Get to Amazon, grab a copy. I will be back here on Monday with a very special edition of News Talk that will focus on immigration in the USA. You have heard of all these visa bans across the globe. In fact, 75 countries have been banned from traveling to the US. That means if they had visas, they can still travel. But you can go for a new visa. For those who are here in the US being chased by ICE, Immigration and Custom Services, what does it mean for you who are here without proper documentation? We're going to have a panel of lawyers on Monday to discuss this subject. I look forward to being back. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all. And I like to say good night.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at
Dennis Mata, Muniking Fanja, Usari Maribo. What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? What's a seku, just a go what up with? That concept, Grandago, Mukuba, Matera, Amechi, Away, Peter, Eno, Asien Treva, Rompeno, Urukwa, Aquaticaba, and young Atem, Rompeno, Aquaticaba, Arremoni, Rompeno, Rompeno, Aquaticaba, and Tigan Suadi, Rompeno, Muruba, sende bima toto menga minita kwe koma sende toto menga minita kwe koma sende bima toto menga minita kwe koma sende toto menga minita kwe koma sende me